Hello and welcome to this starter guide to the Mistweaver Monk in the Mists of Pandaria expansion. Now this guide doesn't aim to be the be-all end-all theory crafting min-maxing guide on how to play a Mistweaver. It's more of a brief introduction for those of you who are looking to play the Mistweaver in the expansion and just want a basic understanding of what all the abilities do and generally where they're useful. The Mistweaver, like all other healers, uses mana as a resource when you are in your healing stance. Monks also have the secondary resource of Chi, which operates similar to Holy Power on Paladins. Monks can store up to 4 Chi as base and gain 1 or 2 Chi from different abilities, and then spend the Chi at a cost of 1, 2 or 3 Chi per ability. Chi does not decay within combat, but still decays outside of combat, and none of these Chi costing abilities scale with the number of Chi spent. When you are healing as a Mistweaver, you will be in your healing stance, which is the stance of the Wise Serpent. This increases your healing done by 20%, gives you the mana bar instead of a base energy bar that monks have, grants you 50% of your spirit from items and effects as hit and expertise, and also gives you 200% of your spell power as attack power, and prevents you from gaining attack power from any other sources, such as agility. This expertise hit and attack power conversion is what allows you to actually do a decent amount of damage when you're doing the DPS healing role that Mistweavers have. The main way in which this DPS role functions is through the Eminence passive, which is also gained from your stance of the Wise Serpent. Eminence causes you to heal the lowest health nearby target within 20 yards for an amount equal to 50% of any non-auto attack damage you do. So any special abilities you use that do yellow damage, such as your Blackout Kick or Tiger Palm, will heal a target within 20 yards for 50% of their damage. And most of these special abilities also have a secondary effect that will buff your healing, and it works in a very similar way to how Archangel Atonement Smite works for a Discipline Priest. The Mistweaver Monk's Mastery is called the Gift of the Serpent, and it utilises their Healing Sphere ability. Now, the Healing Sphere's ability causes you to summon a Healing Sphere at a set location that lasts 2 minutes, and when an ally walks through the Healing Sphere, it will heal them for a set amount, and you can have up to 3 of these spheres up at any time. I don't find myself using Healing Sphere at all, even though it's a cheap healing spell, because it requires allies to actually walk through it and take the time out of what they're doing, tanking or DPSing, to do it, and most people don't end up doing that. You can't really rely on other people to heal themselves, as you're the healer, it's generally what you do. Now, the Mastery causes all of your healing spells to have a chance to summon one of these healing spheres near an ally. While it's kind of nice that you have them when you don't have to cast them, it still relies on the other people in your party running through the healing spheres to heal themselves, which doesn't happen that often. I often find the places I'm fighting mobs just filled with healing spheres in dungeons or raids, and I'm the only one that's running through them to heal myself. Maybe as we get into the expansion, more people will start to use them, but as it is now, they don't really get used that much. And now we'll look at the single target abilities that the Mistweaver Monk has. The Mistweaver doesn't have the traditional 3 single target abilities of the quick, expensive heal, the slow, efficient heal, and then the slow, big, expensive heal, but still follows that paradigm somewhat. They have the efficient heal in the form of Soothing Mist, which is a channeled heal over 8 seconds as base, which costs mana when you cast and then mana every second, healing every second. Also, whenever you heal with Soothing Mist, you have a 25% chance to generate 1 Chi. Soothing Mist also interacts with several of your other single target abilities, which we'll get into later. You have the fast expensive heal in the form of Surging Mist, which has a 1.5 second base cast time, and it heals the target and generates 1 Chi. This ability interacts with Soothing Mist, and if it is cast while channeling Soothing Mist, Surging Mist will be instant and heal that target over all others. So while you're channeling Soothing Mist, you can quickly hit Surging Mist at the high cost of mana to have an instant burst heal, as much as you want, though admittedly it will chew through your mana if you keep spamming it. Expel Harm is an ability that all monks have, and it is a instant cast self-heal with a 15-second cooldown. It instantly heals you and causes 50% of the amount healed to be dealt as damage to an enemy within 10 yards, and also generates 1 Chi. It's just a quick and easy, instant self-heal when you need it. And for your single target Chi dump, you have the Enveloping Mist ability, which costs 3 Chi and has a 2-second base cast time. This ability heals the target for a large amount over 6 seconds, and increases all healing they receive from your Soothing Mist by 30%. Also, like Surging Mist, this ability will be instant cast if cast while channeling Soothing Mist, and won't interrupt the Soothing Mist channel. Essentially, if you're single target healing and you start getting your Chi up, you can hit this to get extra healing when you need it, or just to keep your Chi constantly spent, which is important for the Mistweaver. And now we'll look at the general AoE healing abilities of the Mistweaver Monk. Firstly, there is the Renewing Mist ability, which is instant cast with an 8-second cooldown. This ability places the Renewing Mist hot on the target, which heals every 3 seconds for 18 seconds, and it will generate 1 Chi when you cast it. Renewing Mist also has an interesting secondary effect, which causes it to spread to 3 nearby injured party or raid members within 20 yards of this initial cast. So if you cast Renewing Mist on, say, your tank, it will spread to 3 other people within 20 yards of that target, and put the Renewing Mist buff on them for 18 seconds. Uplift is your main chi spending ability when AoE healing. It is instant cast and it will just heal all targets that have renewing mists on them. Lastly, as somewhat of a filler AoE heal, you have the Spinning Cranky ability, which is a channeled ability, which is a baseline AoE damage ability of all monks. However, as a Mistweaver, this ability also heals allies every second for the 3 seconds it's channeled, and will generate 1 chi if it hits at least 3 targets, not including the monk themselves. So this ability can be used for close range AoE healing, and it doesn't have a cooldown or isn't affected by chi like the other AoE healing abilities. And now we'll look at some of the healing utility and cooldown abilities that the Mistweaver Monk has. Firstly, there's Detox, which is your Dispel that's instant with the 8-second cooldown, and it removes all harmful magic, poison and disease effects from the target. Life Cocoon is a instant cast 2-minute cooldown that places an absorption shield on the target for a fair amount and increases all periodic healing they take by 50%, lasting 12 seconds or however long the shield lasts. Thunder Focus Tea is a 45-second cooldown that costs 1 chi. This ability will buff your next Surging Mist or Uplift cast in certain ways. With Surging Mist, it will double the healing of your next Surging Mist, and with Uplift, it will cause it to refresh the duration of your Renewing Mist on all targets it heals to full. So you can spend 1 chi to use this ability to instantly refresh Renewing Mist on everyone that you uplift, or just to get a really big heal from Surging Mists. The Jade Serpent statue is an important ability for Mistweavers. This is an instant cast with a 30-second cooldown, and the statue will persist for 15 minutes. Now this statue has 2 passive effects. It has the Eminence passive, the same as the Stance of the Wise Serpent. It will cause 50% of all yellow damage you deal to heal nearby friendly targets within 20 yards of the statue, not of the monk. So you can place the statue in a separate location to yourself and get Eminence heals proccing from there, or you can place it where you are and essentially get double Eminence. It also has the Serpent's Accord passive, which essentially duplicates your Soothing Mist. Whenever you are channeling Soothing Mist, the statue will also channel Soothing Mist on an injured target within 40 yards of the statue. The Mana Tea ability is your main mana regeneration ability. It's a channeled ability that will restore 4% of your maximum mana per stack of Mana Tea that you have. You gain stacks of Mana Tea every time you spend 4 chi. So if I spend 2 chi, then another 2 chi, I will gain a stack of Mana Tea. If I spend 3 chi, then 1 chi, I'll gain a stack of Mana Tea. And this channel will last for 1 second per stack and obviously restore that 4% mana, consuming 1 stack per second. If you cancel the channel of this ability, the stacks will not be wasted. So if you had 5 stacks and channel for 2 seconds before cancelling, you'll lose 2 of those stacks, get the 4% mana back from each of those stacks, and still have 3 stacks remaining. Revival is the Mistweaver's big AoE healing cooldown with a 3-minute cooldown, and it is instant cast. It will heal all party or raid members within your vision for a very large amount and remove all magic, poison and disease debuffs from them. Zen Meditation is a group cooldown that all monks have. It is an 8-second channeled ability and reduces all damage you take by 90% and redirects 5 harmful spells from your party or raid members to you. But if you are hit by a melee attack, it breaks the channel of this effect. So if something is casting a whole bunch of spells, such as the last boss of Skullman's Darkmaster Gandling, who constantly casts Immolates, I can channel this ability, redirect 5 of those to me at 90% reduced damage, so they essentially just don't matter. Resuscitate is the monk's standard resurrection ability, nothing too special here, it's about the same as every other resurrection ability. And Mistweavers also gain the Dematerialize passive, which means that when you are stunned, you phase out of existence, causing all melee ranged and spell effects to miss you for 2.5 seconds, with a 10-second internal cooldown. And now for a look at some of the damaging abilities that you might use while DPS healing. Jab is the standard damage chi generation ability, which is instant and generates 1 chi while dealing some damage. Tiger Palm costs 1 chi, and deals damage and grants you a armor ignoring buff that stacks up to 3 times, but also for a Mistweaver it gives you another buff called Vital Mists, which reduces the casting time and mana cost of your next Surging Mist by 20%, and this stacks up to 5 times. So at 5 stacks after 5 Tiger Palms, you essentially get a free instant cast Surging Mists. You also have the Black Kick ability, which costs 2 chi and deals some damage. It gives you the Serpent Zeal buff whenever you use it, which causes you and your summoned Jade Serpent statue to heal nearby injured targets equal to 25% of your auto attack damage, and stacking up to 2 times. So essentially you get 2 stacks of this buff, and then 50% of all your auto attack damage will heal nearby friendly targets within 20 yards. There's also the Crackling Jade Lightning ability, which is a 6-second channeled ability, which has a chance to generate 1 chi every time it deals damage. You can use this ability to deal damage from range and proc Eminence, though I haven't found myself using it as much, as being in melee range is much better, as not only can you do damage and generate chi from jab, but you can also use Black Kick and Tiger Palm, which give you those important and useful buffs to your healing. And now we'll look at some of the other monk abilities that you might find useful as a Mistweaver. Firstly, there's a roll ability, which all monks have, which is a movement-based ability which will roll you forward a short distance, quicker than it would be running or walking. Legacy of the Emperor is the raid buff that Mistweavers have. It's essentially the same as Blessing of Kings. It increases strength, agility, and intellect by 5% for you and all party or raid members. Transcendence is the ability that monks gain at level 87. It's very similar to the Warlock's Demonic Circle Teleport. It causes you to split your spirit from your body, leaving your spirit behind for 15 minutes, and you can then use the transfer ability to swap places with that spirit. Similar to the Demonic Circle Teleport, but instead of always teleporting to the same location, you swap places with wherever your spirit was. So your spirit will be where you were, and you will be where the spirit was. Each of these abilities, the base Transcendence ability and the transfer ability, have a 0.5 second base cast time, and the transfer ability has a 25 second cooldown, and the base Transcendence ability has a 45 second cooldown. Paralysis is a CC ability that monks have that's instant with a 15 second cooldown. It incapacitates a target for 30 seconds within melee range, but if it is done from behind the target, the duration is doubled. Fortifying Brew is a 3-minute damage reduction cooldown that reduces all damage you take by 20% and increases your health by 20% for 20 seconds. Lastly, there is Spearhand Strike, which is the Monk's Interrupt with a 15 second cooldown. When you use it, you will lock the target out of the school for the spell they were casting for 5 seconds, and if the target is facing you when you cast this, you will silence them out of all schools for 4 seconds. And now a quick look at some of the glyphs available to the Mistweaver and what among them might be useful. There is the Glyph of Enduring Healing Sphere, which causes your healing spheres to last for 3 minutes, and I find myself not really using healing spheres at all besides the ones that are placed by the mastery, so I don't find this glyph very useful. Glyph of Expel Harm increases the range on the damage component of Expel Harm by 10 yards, which can be useful if you find yourself using it a lot and you want that extra damage from it to reach from further. There's the Glyph of Life Cocoon, which essentially just means Life Cocoon can now be cast while stunned. The Glyph of Manatee is an interesting one. It causes Manatee to be instant instead of channeled, and it will consume 2 stacks whenever it's cast, and invoke a 10-second cooldown. And essentially this just means for Manatee, you can have it be an instant cast ability instead of a channeled one, consuming 2 stacks or giving back 8% mana with a 10-second cooldown. Very useful for situations where you find you don't have time to sit there and channel Manatee, but have time every 10 seconds or so to remember to hit the ability to get an instant mana back. However, it does limit the amount of mana back you can get in a set amount of time from Manatee. The Glyph of Renewing Mist is a useful one that I've found myself using in 5-mans. It causes your Renewing Mist to travel to the furthest injured target within 40 yards, rather than the closest one within 20. This has been useful in 5-mans as you've only got 5 people and they're very spread out. If you have a tank and some melee and then you have a hunter out at ranged, and I cast Renewing Mist on the tank and I needed to heal the hunter, having this glyph means it will spread around my whole group regardless of how far apart they are, as long as they're within 40 yards. The Glyph of Retreat is a very useful glyph I've found for both DPS and healing specs. It means that when you roll or chi torpedo, all threat is temporarily reduced for 10 seconds. It essentially gives you a fade ability similar to a priest whenever you roll, so if you're in a situation where you've accidentally pulled something, you've pulled aggro, mobs have come onto you in a dungeon or raid, you can use roll or chi torpedo to get rid of that threat for 10 seconds while someone else takes care of it. The Glyph of Spinning Crane Kick is another useful one. It causes you to move at full speed while channeling Spinning Crane Kick. Usually you move at 70% movement speed while channeling this ability, so this essentially stops it inhibiting your movement speed. The Glyph of Surging Mist modifies Surging Mist so it no longer requires a target, and instead heals the lowest health target within 40 yards. Now this is how Surging Mist originally worked in the beta. It was not a targetable ability, but more of a smart heal. So this glyph essentially allows you to change the ability back to how it was at the start of the beta, which could be useful for some. The Glyph of Uplift causes your uplift to no longer cost chi, but instead cost 6% mana, which is a very interesting glyph, meaning that you don't have to rely on chi to do uplift for your AoE healing and can use that chi for other things, but instead you have to rely on mana for it, which for some people who aren't having any mana issues, I can see this being very useful, but for the people that might be in lower gear, don't quite have the mana yet, this glyph probably wouldn't be a good idea. Hopefully this video has been some use to those of you that are looking to play a healing monk in the Mists of Pandaria, and you now have a better understanding of what to look forward to. And with that, have a happy time mistweaving in the Mists of Pandaria.